Hello everyone. In this video, I'll walk you through how governmental regulation in China has evolved over the past 2 decades and how it affects 3 key stakeholders: players, tournaments, and clubs. In these days, esports in China isn't just a business, it's a nexus of sport, entertainment, culture, and regulation. Policies do more than restrict, they help define legitimacy, infrastructure, and competitive standards. Let's dive in. In China's early esports era, players often operated in informal networks. Teams formed in internet cafes, local competitions, without formal oversight. Over time, the government started to place esports more squarely within the domain of sport administration. In 2015, China's General Administration of Sport released the interim regulations on esports events. This was one of the first regulatory steps to formalize esports competitions and begin treating esports like a sporting event. Under these frameworks, esports players and teams were encouraged to register with sports authorities. According to regulatory guides, players must register with provincial sports authorities, and clubs must have a minimum number of registered players. Unregistered clubs or players may be barred from participating in nationally sanctioned events. A major shift came with youth gaming regulation. In August 2021, China's National Press and Publication Administration issued a directive to further restrict minors' use of online games. Under that rule, minors may only access games for 1 hour per day, and only between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Fridays, weekends, and legal holidays. All other times, access must be disabled. This regulation not only constrains general gaming, but inevitably affects aspiring esports players under 18. Some esports organizations began removing minors from active rosters to comply. For example, some League of Legends teams disallowed underage players from competing until they were 18. As the industry matured, more attention turned to protecting players' labor rights, health, and post-career transitions. Contracts between players and clubs increasingly include stipulations about account rights, intellectual property, remuneration, and rights to content created during their tenure. However, a fully uniform national policy on player health insurance, retirement benefits, or formal vocational transition remains a work in progress. Many such initiatives are pilot policies or localized in nature. In the early days, many tournaments were privately organized without seeking formal government sanction. Over time, the regulatory stance shifted. Certain large-scale or national-level esports events must now undergo a review process analogous to sports events. In some jurisdictions, offline esports events are legally treated as performances, meaning they require permits and must comply with cultural, fire safety, public security, and health regulations. Local policies vary. For example, in Shanghai, all esports events may require sports-style approval. In cities like Chengdu or Xi'an, filings may suffice. In other places, fewer formal requirements are enforced. China has more recently introduced formal industry standards to regulate esports event venues. One notable standard is the Esports Venue Operation and Service Specifications, which sets technical, safety, facility, spectator, and operational criteria for esports arenas. This kind of standardization aims to raise event quality and professionalism. Moreover, as the esports ecosystem grows, industry associations are also proposing event organization norms, covering match formats, roster rules, fair play, sanctions, and conduct. Many regional governments, especially in major cities or esports-oriented hubs, now provide financial incentives to attract tournaments and gaming events. These include subsidies for event hosting, arena construction, prize pool matching, logistical support, and tax breaks. Some cities label themselves esports cities or esports capitals to boost branding and draw in organizers. Such policies lower the cost barrier for organizers, making China a more favorable venue for both domestic and international tournaments. Organizers, clubs, and streaming platforms must comply with licensing requirements. These include, but are not limited to, value-added telecom business licenses, network culture licenses, audio-visual dissemination licenses, etc. Without these, they cannot legally operate or broadcast. Clubs also face regulatory pressure to formalize their operations, registering with sports authorities, having minimal staff or player counts, abiding by league rules, and adhering to content and conduct standards. To attract talent and economic activity, many cities offer generous packages to clubs: land for offices, subsidies, infrastructure, training centers, and event assistance. This has led to heightened regional competition to host top clubs or esports campuses. Clubs and organizers are also pushed toward diversifying revenue streams beyond tournaments to include streaming, sponsorships, merchandising, IP licensing, and media content. Policy support often encourages this vertical integration. As esports content became a major revenue driver, regulatory scrutiny followed. China's revised copyright law has been used to strengthen protections for broadcast content, media rights, and intellectual property in esports. Additionally, streamers and broadcasters must abide by content regulations, especially regarding minors, censorship, moral content, and platform governance. From an international viewpoint, China represents one of the world's most regulated and rapidly evolving esports markets. Its scale is immense. By 2022, the number of esports gamers in China reached nearly 488 million. Yet China's approach is distinct. The state seeks both control and development. Regulations protect social objectives, youth welfare, public morality, while policies simultaneously foster infrastructure, global competitiveness, and industrial growth. Here is the end. Thank you for watching.